All right. Lesson 2C, art of the cantus. We're going to add the counterpoint to the two cantus firmus that we wrote. Now, I did this on the fly here at my house, and if I were to spend more time with it, I probably would, I might do some things different. Again, as you've seen by the previous lessons, the choices you make determine the direction you go, or like a real life lesson. But I made some choices just to show you how quickly, really, you can lay out the skeleton for a classical piece. Again, I'll be writing for a string trio, violin, two violins, and a viola. And I'm going to be writing the counterpoint in the viola part. Some rules to figure out that you have to add to the mix here. We're going to use the same rules to write the counterpoint that we did to write the cantus, you know, the skipping, stepping, how to handle the last approach to the tonic, etc. But we're also have to consider the vertical elements. Now, you have to pay attention to the note that's in the cantus in making your choices. And now we have to worry about harmonic intervals. The harmonic intervals you want to avoid are seconds, fourths, and sevenths. Those are called dissonant. Those were considered dissonant. Now, in today's world, dissonance is okay. But initially we want to avoid that and make these as pristine and pretty and harmless, would be the good word for it, as possible. Dissonance we'll add later. So seconds, fourths, and sevenths are verboten. You have the best interval to choose from are thirds and sixths, followed by fifths, and the last choice should be an octave or unison. All right, so let's get into our lesson and let's add our counterpoint. All right, Mr. G here. Now, we're going to take our first step in the journey to harmonizing these two cantuses we wrote. We're going to start with the second cantus because that's the ones in the first measure. We are going to use essentially the same rules that we used before in skipping and stepping, etc. But now when you're writing a second part, there's a vertical element to be considered, the interaction of the two notes from the cantus and the counterpoint. Here's a couple of basic principles. We don't like seconds, fourths, right? Seconds, fourths, or sevenths. Unisons, thirds, fifths, and sixths, and octaves are okay, but we want to stay away from the dissonant intervals, which includes the fourth. Another option we have available to us is when the cantus is in the bottom voice or lower voice, you can start on the fifth of the key. Well, guess what? We're going to start on a G here, which I've done. This is a G. Oh, what do you say? It doesn't look like a G to you? Look at the clef. This is a C clef. The middle line denotes C because that's where the two backward C's intersect. There's C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, E sharp, F. There's no E sharp. F, F sharp, and then there's G. Now we're going to go to the last note and work our way backwards, just like we did with the cantus. Here's C. Now, since the cantus approached the C from half step below, we need to approach the last tonic in the counterpoint from a full step above. So we're going to approach it from a D. It's going to sound like this. Alright, now same rules apply. We are going to just start picking notes. Now, again, the most preferable notes are thirds and sixths, fifth being the last option, next to last option, and unison and octave being the absolute last choice we want to make. Thirds and sixths first. Well, here's a G. I would love to have a B or an E. Well, B is easy enough to come with. Let's do that. Now, notice how we have a B to a D. Oh, I'm sorry, B to an E here. And we have a G to a B. This is, if you want to think of it as parallel sixths, it's okay. Now with two voices, we're going to have different kinds of motion. We're going to have parallel motion, similar motion, or we're going to have contrary motion, parallel, or oblique motion. We'll hopefully be able to explain all that. This is an example of parallel motion. We have a sixth, B to G, and we have a D to B. So let's parallel sixth. We're okay. Now, since I'm skipping from from this B up to the D, I have to step into it. All right, well, let's take a look here. This note's an A. So F or C would be good. I want to avoid C down here because that's my tonic. So C, B, A, G, G, B, D. Now, normally, you want to avoid successive skips. There is an exception. If the skips are a third, you can have 2 thirds in a row. Generally speaking, they avoided this because they wanted to avoid outlining a chord type thing. But I'm gonna leave it here for right now and you'll see why in a second. But also the G here up to the B is contrary motion from that A to G. Oh, wait a minute. So we want a C or an E. Excuse me. Oh, C, B, A flat, G, F. There's G flat, there's F. I really can't do this. That's 2 skips in a row. So forget about what I said about the thirds. It won't work, will it? Looks like my only possible choice is going to be a fifth, which is an E. But nope, I have to step into this one. So that means my choices are going to be C, another B, or an A, and yeah, C, B, or A, because I'm skipping from here to here. So C, B, or A. C, B, A. I'm gonna do an octave below it. That's my last choice. That's an A, but it's contrary motion. I'm going from A to B. I'm going from A to G here. So that's going to sound like this. All right, so that's okay. It's acceptable. Now, how can I approach this A? Well, I can approach it from anywhere. Since I'm stepping out of that A to the B, I can approach this A from anywhere. Well, I've got an F up here in the cantus. So that means the best notes are going to be an A or a D. Well, here's a C. Let's do a D because now... Oh, but no, we can't do that. Why? Because we're going in the same direction into a unison. That's one of the other rules. Your perfect intervals are unisons, fifths, unisons, fourths, fifths, and octaves. Well, we can't use fourths. Those are perfect intervals. You can't go into a perfect interval from moving in the same direction, whether it's parallel or similar motion. If I went from this D, which sounds perfectly good with this F, we'd both be going down, skipping down into a perfect octave. Can't do that. So really then, my only choice is to leave it as an A. Because I can't do a G here because that's G to an F. That's ugly. That's a 7. That's verboten. And I can't do C, B, C. There's C. I could do a C. No, I can't because I'm similar motion into the A again. Can't do it. Can't do it this way. It has to be some note that's the same or below. So let's see. Is there a note that's equal to this A that... Yeah, see, well, it looks like I could stay in A. See, if I went down here to C, A, I could go down to an F. Nah, that won't work. This is really my only choice, isn't it? A, C, B, A. And A does work well with F, so we're good there. Now, let's take a look at this. We're stepping from E to F. I'd like to go in an opposite direction if at all possible. So, there's A. That's an E. If we did, I could skip C, D, E. What are my choices here? C. I say stay on the C. C, down to the A. That works. C is a good note for the E. We're good there. And let's take a look now. This is a D going into the E here. All right, I've got a C here. If I can, well, since I'm skipping out of this C down to this A, I have to step into it. So I can do a B, B up to C. All right, well, B to D, third or a sixth, depending on how you want to look at it. That works. That's a good interval. And I've got a C to an E. That's a good interval. Okay, and they're both parallel sixth. We're good to go. All right, now I am going from a B up to a D. This note, since I'm stepping out of this B to a C, I can skip into it. So really, I can go anywhere. Since this note is moving up, skipping up, I think I want to skip down into this. Well, what note goes good with a B? A D. There we are. D, skipping down, right, to the B. That's skipping down, stepping up. We're good to go here. And, but wait. Oh, Lord, have mercy. I wanted to start on this D, didn't I? Painting myself into a corner. Well, this is a B. If I see... If I did this, 2 G's, but really I don't want, all right, like that. Let's just see what this sounds like. All right, I can live with that. But I don't like this right here where we have one voice moving and one voice staying. It's called oblique motion. Sometimes that's our only choice. Down here, did the same thing. There's an A to an A, F to an A. Oblique motion into an octave. I guess that's good. So we're going to leave that right now, and we're going to move on. Let's do this. Let's go take a look now at harmonizing the second one. Here we are. All right, different choices. I'm going to start on a C and end on a C this time. So we'll start here, end here. Now, since this top, the cantus goes from D to a C, this is going to go from a B to a C. It's going to sound like this. All right. I'm skipping up into that D, so I'm going to skip down. Well, this is a B. I'm going to skip down. Here's a D. This is a B. This is a D. Skipping down and then stepping away. That's good. All right, so now this is an A. Since I'm skipping from this D down to this B, I can step into the D. Right? I can't have 2 skips in a row, so that means I have to step. It can be from here, which is a E. Will that work good with the A? Possibly. It's a 5th. D, nope. C, yeah, but I want to stay away from C if at all possible. So really, that's my choice. E. Now, I can't approach, this is called a perfect 5th. A is a 5th away from E. I can't approach it in the same direction. So if this one is skipping down into it, I either have to step up or skip up to it. That's an E. And I can't have 2 5ths in a row. So let me do C. Let's do, that's an E. What? B, A, G. All right, C, A, G. So that's a G skipping up to the E. Okay, that's good. That's G, that's an E. That's good. All right, we're good to go. Now, I've skipped down into this. I've skipped away from this note, right? That means I have to step into it. So my choices are going to be limited to this note. A, another G, or an F. A, G, F. That's it. A, G, or F. What's this note? Well, it's a D. Well, of the A, G, or F, what's our favorite note? What's going to be the best sounding note with that D? Well, an F, because that's the third. So, C, G, here's an F. And parallel 6, F to G, D to E, we're good to go. And let's take a look. Now, I'm skipping down from this F to the D, right? Well, what note goes good with F? Best note would be a D or an A. What if I did a D here, skipping down to a C, G, like that? Oh, big skip down, step up. D, that's an F, that's good there. Skipping down into a sixth, we're good to go. That's called similar motion. Good intervals at the beginning and the end, skipping in the same direction, but one skips further than the other. Now, stepping up, E to F on the top voice. Right, there we are, stepping up. That's an E to an F. What if I could do a C to an E? That'd be good, C to D, that would work. But what if I can't skip into this D because it can't have two skips in a row? So really my choices are going to be C, D, E, D, or a C. E, D, or C. What do you want? Well, I could have an octave, but that would be tough because then I have similar motion, C up to an E, C up to an E. That's parallel octaves. Can't have that. So really, my best choice is going to be C. It's an E, C, C. My best choice is going to be another C, and oh, I hate that. So I guess what I could do is move this up to a G. There we are. Again, we have G, contrary motion into that. Contrary motion here, the first pair. Similar motion. Let's see what this sounds like. All right, I think that gives us some bare bones to work with. All right, so lesson 2D is going to be all about us tweaking these two parts to make them sound more melodious. And we're getting ready to have some fun. This is where the fun begins. All right, Mr. G out. Bye-bye.